Cybersecurity stocks just had their worst day in over 2 years. JFrog dropped 24%. CrowdStrike fell 8%. Okta lost 9%. And it wasn't because of a data breach or a recession scare. It was because an AI model found over 500 security vulnerabilities in production open-source software that human experts and automated tools had missed for decades. That AI is Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.6, and today's news sent shockwaves through the entire security industry. But that's only half of the story breaking right now. Because on the same day, 25 years after the Agile Manifesto was written, its own creators just declared that test-driven development has never been more important. Specifically because AI agents are now writing production code at scale. Let's get into it. In February 2001, 17 software developers gathered at a ski lodge in Snowbird, Utah and wrote the Agile Manifesto, a short document that would reshape how software gets built for the next quarter century. One of those original signatories was Martin Fowler, now chief scientist at ThoughtWorks, the global software consultancy. This month, exactly 25 years later, Fowler and ThoughtWorks hosted a new workshop in Deer Valley, Utah, just miles from the original location, but with a radically different agenda. The event was called The Future of Software Development, and it brought together practitioners and industry leaders under the Chatham House rule, meaning participants' names and affiliations stay confidential, to tackle a single question: how does software development change now that AI agents are writing real production code? The conclusions were striking. The workshop's report states, and I'm quoting directly here, "Test-driven development produces dramatically better results from AI coding agents." The group found that TDD is now, quote, "the strongest form of prompt engineering." Why? Because when tests are written before the code, AI agents cannot cheat. They can't write a test that simply confirms whatever broken implementation they just generated. The test becomes the specification. The test becomes the contract. Fowler himself has been practicing this. In a January blog post, he described using Claude code with a strict red-green refactor TDD cycle, and found that writing tests first was the critical mechanism that kept him in the loop. Because you can't write a meaningful test for something you don't understand. But the workshop also raised a serious alarm. Security, the report warned, is, quote, "dangerously behind in the AI coding era." Teams are treating it as something to solve later, even as AI agents are generating code at unprecedented speed. The group identified a consistent pattern. Established practices, tools, and organizational structures are breaking in predictable ways under the weight of AI-assisted work. Here's why this matters so much right now. The people who literally wrote the book on modern software development, the original Agile signatories, are not saying AI coding is a fad. They're not dismissing it. They are saying it fundamentally changes the job, and that the engineering discipline that used to live inside coding doesn't disappear. It moves. It moves into test design. It moves into specification quality. It moves into the ability to evaluate and correct AI agent output. The workshop identified a new middle loops in software development. There's always been the inner loop, writing code, and the outer loop, CI/CD and deployment. Now there's a loop in between, directing, evaluating, and correcting AI agents. And the teams that are doing this well are the ones writing tests first. This is a profound shift. For years, TDD was a discipline that many teams aspired to but few practiced consistently. It was considered slower, more rigorous than necessary. Now, in an era where AI can generate thousands of lines of code in minutes, that rigor is exactly what prevents hallucinated implementations from reaching production. The spec is the leverage point. The test is the spec, and the developers who master this workflow are the ones who will thrive in the agentic era. The big question now is whether a new manifesto is coming. When asked, Martin Fowler said no, it's way too early. People are still experimenting, still trying things. But he acknowledged the profession is in the middle of a genuine identity shift. Watch for ThoughtWorks to publish the full workshop report in the coming weeks. And watch for TDD adoption metrics to become a leading indicator of which engineering teams are actually succeeding with AI agents versus which are just generating code and hoping for the best. Now the Agile workshop flags security as the area that's dangerously behind in the AI coding era. And almost as if on cue, Anthropic just demonstrated exactly why that warning matters. By releasing a tool that found hundreds of critical vulnerabilities that the entire existing security industry had missed. And the stock market's reaction was immediate and brutal. Anthropic, the San Francisco-based AI company behind the Claude family of models, today launched Claude Code Security, a new capability built directly into their Claude Code developer tool. It uses the company's latest Opus 4.6 model to scan entire code bases for security vulnerabilities and automatically suggest patches for human review. But the real headline isn't the product announcement. It's what happened during testing. Anthropic's Frontier Red team put Claude inside a virtual machine with access to the latest versions of major open-source projects. They gave it standard utilities, debuggers, fuzzers, analysis tools, but no special instructions, no custom scaffolding, no specialized prompting, just the model and the code. Claude found over 500 previously unknown zero-day vulnerabilities. These are high-severity bugs, memory corruption issues, buffer overflows, logic flaws, in some of the most heavily tested open-source software on the planet. Projects like GhostScript, the PDF and PostScript processing library, OpenSC, a smart card management tool, CGIF, a graphics library. These codebases have had automated fuzzers running against them for years, accumulating millions of hours of CPU time. And Opus 4.6 found critical bugs that all of that testing missed. How? The model doesn't just fuzz code randomly. It reads Git commit histories, finds security-relevant patches, then looks for similar unpatched vulnerabilities elsewhere in the codebase. In the GhostScript case, Claude found a commit about stack bounds checking, then traced every other call site for that function, and identified one in gdev pffx.c that was never patched. It reasons about code the way a human security researcher does, but at machine speed across entire repositories. Every single one of those 500-plus vulnerabilities was validated by either Anthropic's internal team or independent external security researchers. None were hallucinated. Patches are now landing in the affected projects. Claude Code Security is available today in limited research preview for enterprise and team customers, with free expedited access for open-source maintainers. The stock market told the story before any analyst could. On the news, JFrog, a company that specializes in software supply chain security, dropped 24.6% in a single session. CrowdStrike fell nearly 8%. Okta dropped 9.2%. Cloudflare lost over 6%. Zscaler fell 5.5%. The global cybersecurity ETF hit its lowest level since November 2023. Investors are doing simple math. If an AI model can find 500 critical bugs that the entire security industry missed, without any specialized tooling, what does that mean for the companies selling specialized security tooling at enterprise price points? The fear is that AI native security, embedded directly into the developer workflow, could undercut the pricing power and market position of incumbent vendors almost overnight. This is the pattern to pay attention to. AI coding tools started by writing code, then they moved into code review. Now they're doing security analysis. Each expansion eats into an adjacent market, and the incumbents in those adjacent markets are the ones watching their stock prices fall. This isn't a theoretical disruption story anymore. It's repricing happening in real time, in public markets, today. The immediate question for cybersecurity incumbents is whether this is a one-day headline scare or the start of a permanent re-rating. Earnings calls in the coming weeks will be telling. Listen for how CrowdStrike, Okta, and others address AI-native competition. Meanwhile, Anthropic faces its own challenge. The same capabilities that help defenders find bugs could help attackers exploit them. The company says it's built new detection probes and trained the model on over 10 million adversarial prompts to prevent misuse. But as disclosure norms face pressure, the industry standard 90-day window may not survive when AI can find bugs this fast. Expect a major policy debate about responsible AI-powered vulnerability discovery. Here's the question worth sitting with tonight. The people who built modern software development just said the discipline hasn't disappeared. It's moved into writing better specs and better tests. And within hours, an AI proved it can do security work that entire companies were built to do. The role of the developer isn't shrinking, but it is transforming faster than almost anyone predicted. If you want to stay on top of how this plays out, subscribe. We cover AI and tech news daily. See you in the next one.